What's going on, everybody? Thank you again for checking out Academic Wave, where smart is the new cool. And today begins the last week of our course, Social Studies, The Fundamentals. Class session 9 is now in session. For Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we are going to talk about what you can do to create your final project, to create your historical thinking journey project. So y'all already know how we get down here in the chat room. Go ahead and write your name, write your grade level, write the city that you're in, write anything that you would like to represent yourself. We're doing the roll call. That's right before we get started. We're going to get started in just a second. All right, here we go. Okay, Everest, I see you. I see you big time. Seventh grade in the building, Austin, Texas. Okay. Who else we have in here? Caleb from H Town. Okay. No, we got Zoe in here. Sixth grade in the building. Here we go. We're about to get started in just a second. Okay, Dante, I see you, my man. Okay, let's go. Y'all thought I was hyped before. It's on now. Here we go. All right, all right. So before we get started, y'all remember last week I talked about us reviewing the past 2 weeks that we went over our material. So we're going to do that right quick. But before anything, we're going to check out our syllabus to see where we are, just like a college course. All right, here we go. So we're going to check out the syllabus and see where we are and if we're following along. Okay, so bam, here we go. Moving right along. So week 1, we've covered week 1. All right. Week 2 has some bomb classes: identities in society, art and music, geography, holiday celebrations and memorials. And now we're going to the last week Week 3, where we are discussing the historical thinking journey box, part 1. Choose a topic and how to select sources. Tomorrow, we'll talk about how to develop your questions. On Wednesday, we'll talk about how to make connections and state your case. And on the last day of the class, the students, everyone here, if you would like to, you will participate in your presentation. We'll do this via Zoom. So we'll go off of YouTube to protect privacy, and we'll do that via Zoom where people can display their project. So today it's about to be on. We're going to wrap up a whole lot of stuff. So we're going to start with this first. All right. Now, y'all remember we talked about week 1, week 2, we were actually going to do the review. So we're going to do that right now. All right, here we go. So this is going to be real quick. This is going to be real quick because it's a quick journey today. It's a long road, but a short walk. All right. So here we go. We're going to do this right now where we're going to go over week 2. So I want you to play this with me. If you remember, you don't have to write it in the chat because I think it'll go a little bit faster because we want to move on with class. But I do want to do the review because I promised it to you, all right? So we're going to do this a little different as far as how we're going to review, and we're going to play the game, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? Who doesn't want to be a millionaire, especially right about now? Week 2 review. So if you think about it, and you could just say this out loud to yourself and see if you get the question correct. Last Monday, we drew, what did we draw with our opposite hand? What did we draw with our opposite hand? Was it a duck? Was it an ocean? 10 hamburgers or a lizard? All right. Duck is the final answer. All right. We on to the next one. Here we go. We're moving fast. Here we go. Race, race, physical characteristics, and how you think are examples of A, food, B, identity, C, living, or D, games. What do you have for us? We're going to go with identities. Is that your final answer? Bam, here we go. All right. We moving right along. 300, the fast way. Hip hop started in what city? Was it Cape Town, Paris, New York, or Himalayas? Right? Where did hip hop start? We talked about that last week. Let's see what we go with. New York. Bam, okay. We playing with house money right about now. Here we go. There are 2 types of geography. One is human geography. The other is what? High geography, low geography, math geography, or physical geography. Which one? Bam. Physical. Let's see. Bam. Okay, here we go. Next up. I hope y'all are rocking with me. We're going fast, but I hope you remember this from the past 2 weeks, all right? Jay-Z's song, Empire State of Mind, from New York, right? Remember, who did he sing that song with? Was it Alicia Keys? Was it our partner SpongeBob? Was it Teddy Riley? Now, that would have been a hit. Or was it Taylor Swift? Which one? Here we go. What do you think? We're going to go with Alicia Keys. Is that our final answer? Bam. Correct. Let's keep moving. Big neighborhoods in New York are also known as what? A, towns, B, boroughs, C, highways, or D, states. Which one we're going to go with? We're moving quick today. Boroughs, is that the final answer? That is correct. Okay, here we go. Next up. Last week, we closed our eyes, thought positively about who we are and who we are becoming. What is this called? A, watching TV, B, recess, C, meditation, or D, social distancing. Which one did we come up with? What did we do last week for 15 seconds? Anybody remember? Bam. Meditation. That is correct. Remember, we talked about doing that Next up, well, we are on the question 8. To recognize people and things that improve the lives of our neighborhood is called what? We did this activity last week. To recognize people and things that improve the lives of our neighborhood, what is that called? A, writing on Twitter. Twitter fingers, huh? B, giving up. C, labeling. Or D, community resource mapping. Which one do you have for us? Which one do you have for us? Here we go. I'm with you. Community resource mapping. That is correct. Remember, we're not looking at what we lack. We are looking at what we do have. All right. Next up, question. Let's see, where are we now? Question 9 for 16,000. MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. stated, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice blank." Would that be everywhere, your backyard, on the sea, nowhere? What do you have for us? We're going to go with A, everywhere. We're moving fast. Is that the final answer? Yes. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Last week, oh, we did a dope compare. Okay. Last week, we compared text emojis to what? Remember, we would compare today's text emojis to the past what? A, highway signs. B, ancient hieroglyphics. C, new books. Or D, Facebook. What do we have? What do we compare emojis to? Bam. Ancient hieroglyphics. Let's see, is that correct? All right, here we go. We on the last lap. Complete this phrase. We talked about this being a major concept in our class. We talked about this being a major takeaway in our class in how we think and how we learn things, okay? So here we go. Complete this phrase. Windows, sliding glass doors, and blank. When you learn something, it can be like a window, sliding glass door, or a blank. Mirrors, doors, stoves, or plates. Which one do we have? Which one do you have for us? Which one? We're going to go with mirrors, okay? That is correct. Here we go. Here we go. The pyramids we traveled to. Remember, we did a virtual field trip. The pyramids we traveled to on Google Earth last week are located in what continent? That be Asia, Europe, Africa, or Australia. Which one? Which one? What do you have for us? Which one? And I think we go with Africa. Final answer. Yes, that's correct. Here we go. We're moving forward. Just 3 more left. This is someone or something you can get information from. Would that be a seed, a phone, wire, or source? What did we talk about last week that you can get information from? What are you going to go with? Phone, seed, wire, source. We're going to go with source, and we'll talk more about this today. Bam, that is correct. Here we go. 2 more questions left for this million, 500,000 on the line right here. What culture honored Pachamama, a deity of the earth? We talked about culture last week, correct? What culture honored Pachamama? Was it A, Greek? Was it B, South Side? The South Side, yeah, South Side, everybody. Was it South Side? Or was it the Inca? Or was it American? Which one? Here we go. Here we go. What are we thinking? We're going to go with the Incan culture. That is correct. And last question for $1 million. What is the name of your final project this week? What is the name? Is it A, the foundation, B, historical thinking journey, C, seeing 2020 in 2020, or it's in the textbook? What is the name of your final project? Bam. There we go. Okay. There we go. $1 million right there. Week 2 review. All right, bam, here we go. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. That's just a quick way that we like to review what we've learned already. Now we're going to get into the lesson of today, which is historical thinking. Here we go. Let's go, y'all. I hope y'all ready for me. It's popping today. Bam. All right. So when you think of the concepts that we've talked about, I want you to think of three things. One, when it comes to our historical thinking journey project, I want you to think of three concepts that we've talked about so far that'll help you think about how to create your own historical thinking journey. The history versus a history. Okay. Also, I'd like you to think about windows, sliding glass doors, and mirrors. Remember, a window being how you can learn something through looking out into a different world. Sliding glass doors when you go into a different world, right? You experience it differently. You see, you smell, you taste, you experience it a different way. And when you learn something as a mirror, you actually see yourself in the story. You see yourself in the narrative. You see yourself in what you're learning. Powerful stuff right here. So we have those two, and reading the world, right? It's one thing to read the word, but we're learning here to read the world around us, all right? Also, so we take that into consideration when we go into history. And we talked about how history is something that you can learn. So you learn history, right? You learn history. You learn about facts. You learn about dates. You learn about events. But to be honest with you, in a way that can be pretty boring, let's just be honest, right? It can be very boring. So instead of learning history or simply learning history, what we're going to do, you're going to help us with your final project. You're going to help us do history, right? So it's a difference between learning history and doing history. When you learn history, it's very passive. But when you do history, it's like a detective. You're uncovering details that you normally wouldn't know. Okay? So that's what we're going to do together. And that's what you're going to help us do with your historical thinking project. And you know what? When you're a detective, it's almost as if with this historical thinking journey that you're taking us on, it's like you're creating a museum, right? You're creating a museum for us to walk through and experience different things that we normally would not know. And in this way, you are the teacher. You are the person that's leading us into a different world, a different reality, right? You're introducing us to things that we don't know. Okay? So this is how I want you to think about your historical thinking journey project, that you're introducing us into a new world. All right? Bam. So how does this new world look? Okay? And what's the first thing that we do? And the reason why we do it? Well, one, when you think of what we learn in school, mostly is through textbooks and what we call a tertiary source, right? And this is basically a second and third way of receiving information. It's kind of like the whisper game in the classroom where you whisper in somebody's ear and then they whisper in somebody's ear the message, and it keeps going and it keeps going. And by the time it gets to the last person, the message is lost, right? In many ways, this is what happens in textbooks. This is exactly what happens in textbooks, right? So with your project, what you're going to do, instead of using textbook, instead of using secondary sources like encyclopedias or books or magazine articles, you're going to use primary sources. And primary sources are where you get the information from before it's been analyzed, before it's been given to you. Nobody interprets this. Nobody communicates this. This is a way that you communicate and interpret the information for yourself, okay? So this is a great way of removing what we consider the middleman. So what are some examples of primary sources? Photos, diaries, letters, speeches, a passport. And remember, we talked about last week that we can read things differently, that text, and that what we read is not only in the book, but you can read something, or you can read text by way of a tattoo, a mural, a painting, a quilt. All of these are different ways of interpreting and getting more information. So what you'll do is you're going to gather primary sources, not secondary, not textbooks, but primary sources. Also, you can use artifacts such as clothing or furniture, and you can use newspapers or magazine articles from that time, from when it happened, not something that we're talking about now, but from that time. All right, let's continue sort of teasing out what this looks like. So first, I want you to do, the first thing I would like for you to do is just choose a journey, choose a topic, choose something that what excites you, choose something that's interesting to you, right? Choose something that's dope to you, choose something that you wish you would like to know more about, but a lot of times it's what? Not talked about in school or in class. So choose a topic. You are the teacher. You are the person that's going to be putting us on. So here, you're going to focus on a topic or on someone that is usually left out of our textbooks or classroom. Focus on someone or something that's interesting to you, and also someone that's usually left out of the textbook. And why is that? Usually that's because of a person's race, their gender, class, age, issues of ability, so forth and so on. All right? So we're doing some big time stuff here. Not your regular, everyday, ordinary project. Next up, when you choose a topic, this also has the opportunity to present counter narratives. Remember, we talked about counter narratives being something that we talk about that introduces another side of the story, right? It gives balance to what we're learning. So it presents the opportunity, bam, and allows history to help us understand not just what happened in the past, but also to help us understand today and tomorrow. All right. Okay. I see Ronnie already said he coming through with Cleopatra on us. Okay. All right, Ronnie. Here we go. So next up, when you choose your topic, and you can do it now or you can do it later. This is something that you can work on at home and you can work on for the rest of the week. We're going to take it step by step. So on Thursday, it'll be a great project that you're able to present to us. All right. So here we go. Bam. What's up next? Examples of topics. It could be a historical event. It could be historical figures. It can be an idea, right? And also think about last week when we talked about identities in society, art and music, geography, holidays, celebrations, and memorials. These are examples of topics that you can pick, right? So let's go further into how this might look. I hope y'all are with me and everybody can participate in this one, all right? Here we go. Check this out. So when we think of identities in society, for example, a counter narrative. Now, we've all heard of Cesar Chavez. There are schools named after Cesar Chavez. There are streets. Even a street here in Austin is named after Cesar Chavez, right? He was a leader in the labor unions in California and in America for people to get treated better. However, part of that narrative that does not get told is that Dolores Huerta was a leader in that movement herself. But many times we don't know about her. There aren't streets named after her that we know about. There aren't schools. There aren't as many buildings and halls, right? Or monuments, or even the way we think of that time in history. A lot of times she's left out of that history. But because of what we're doing with our project, this is an example of bringing her back in, a counter narrative, right? On top of that, Ms. Huerta she also was doing that as a mother of 12. All right. So I'm talking about straight up big time. All right. Oh, okay. That's right. Amris, if y'all remember, Amris actually wrote in the chat that she met her. I remember you posting that, Amaris. That's awesome, right? So that's someone you can do a project on. Also here, Charlene Mitchell. Now I'm gonna be honest. This whole time I used to think, or I was taught that Shirley Chisholm was the first African American woman to run for president. But history has a way of unveiling itself. History is not something in the past that just stuck there and stagnant. We're always learning something new about history. That's the beautiful part about it. And I recently learned that Charlene Mitchell in 1968 was the first African American woman to run for president. Isn't that something? Right? So this is counter narrative. What else do you have for us, Dr. Johnson? Bam! The Moors, right? How many times have you heard of the Moors within your history class? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna just, how many times? Okay, that's what I'm talking about, right? So the Moors were a group who actually conquered Europe at the time. These brothers were from Africa, but we don't hear that story, right? We don't hear this being told to us. But that's the good thing about social studies, the fundamental class. We're gonna bring some things to light. So, bam, let's go to the next one. We're merely rocking through this. Art and music. Art and music. Now, why would I even have this picture up? Well, we talked about photography being a part of art. That photography and taking pictures are part of art. Here, back in the day, did you even know that people never smile for pictures? That's something very new. Something very new to us. Back in the day, people didn't smile. Man, you better take this picture. Why is that? Well, that's something that you can learn as you take a journey through the past, right? So that's something that's an example of a counter narrative. What else? Geography. We talked about geography, right? We talked, geography. And here, you can even do a project about your community. You can do a project about your community. What is the history of your community? Who are the streets named after? Who are some of the incredible people or prominent people that have come out of your community, right? So you can big up your own neighborhood. Also, when we think about geography, remember we talked about it being a physical geography. We talked about it being physical, but also what is geography? Geography is also human, the way humans move. And did you know that back in the day, there was this book, it was called the Green Book. Actually, the Negro Motorist Green Book. And this was a book created by a brother in the 30s, where he said because of Jim Crow and the mistreatment of black people, he created a book to where people would know, black people would know where to travel, where they would be welcome. Right? Isn't that something else? How many times have we learned about this in our class? So this could be a part of a project that talks about geography, right? The movement of people. Oh, this is good stuff. Just a couple more. Here we go. Holidays and celebrations coming up. What do we have? Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo is tomorrow. But many times the narrative is that that's Independence Day for Mexico. But we know that is not true. It was the Battle of Puebla. But even that is misconstrued many times because a counter narrative is, do many people know that there were freed African people that helped battle the French with the Mexican army? That story is not told. That story is not told. We hear about the Underground Railroad going north, but many times we do not hear that narrative about people going south. But that actually happened. So during Cinco de Mayo, we just think of it as putting on some hats, having a good time, but we do not associate that with freed Africans who actually fought in that battle. What else do we have here? One of my favorite ways to present counter narratives. We're about to end in a little bit. Muhammad Ali. Now, if you look, there is the Hollywood Walk of Fame in LA. And it's loaded with stars and entertainers and artists and athletes. from the past and the present who have done incredible things. But Muhammad Ali is the only person who has his star on the wall instead of the sidewalk. Why do you think that is? Muhammad Ali, incredible person within history. Instead of having his star on the sidewalk, he's the only person that has his star on the wall. Well, because he's named after the prophet, which they venerate in the Islamic religion, he said that he did not want people walking on the name of Muhammad, and that he would prefer that it be on the wall. So that's a way that you're able to read the world, right? You're walking and you see that, and instead of just automatically thinking something, you hit the pause button to read the world around us, right? So that's an incredible way that these projects can bring counter narratives to what we're doing. Okay, so take a deep breath. Let me go ahead and gather myself. Here we go. Back to thinking of a topic. So today, you simply think of a topic, whatever topic that interests you. It could be about it could be about an event, a figure, an idea, identity, society, art and music, geography, holidays, celebrations, memorial, whatever it is. All right. Take your time to think about it. All right. And now I want you to think of your selection of sources. And remember, we talked about source. A source is something you can get more information from. And we want these sources to be primary sources. So you're going to have to do some detective work. It's almost like you're a scholar, a researcher, a professor, like you're actually going into research and data to find out these incredible things about whatever it is you want us to know more about. Okay? So I want you, for this project, you'll get a total of 5 sources. A total of 5 sources. And it's up to you what these 5 sources are. Sources can include, remember, we're doing primary sources. Sources can include pictures, posters, speeches, news articles, magazines, letters, memoirs, journal articles, so forth and so on, right? Of that time, if you do use news articles or magazine articles or journal articles, it has to be from the time period that you would like us to explore. So your project will include 5 sources, all right? And you get a chance to go on Google and to look up these 5 sources that you would like to use. Now, what's an example of a source, of a primary source and a topic? So let's think about Rosa Parks, all right? Very quickly, we're going to think about Rosa Parks. This is our last thing before we head out. Rosa Parks, an example of sources, of primary sources. So, bam, this is Rosa Parks' driver's license. This is an example of a primary source. This is not textbook. This is not something in an encyclopedia. This is something that is considered a primary source. And it's interesting. We'll talk about how to develop questions to help us explore or go on this journey. But if you look, her driver's license says Michigan, specifically Detroit. But she was a major figure in where? Montgomery, Alabama. So the question is, what would someone from Michigan be doing in Alabama, right? This is incredible. Okay? All right. Also, a primary source. That's right, Ronnie. Diary of Actions. There you go, Big Timer. Rosa Parks. Here you have a police mugshot. Ooh, it's a lot. It's a lot of meat on that bone. We're gonna go there tomorrow, but these are just sources you can use. More than just reading about, These are primary sources. So you have a driver's license, you have a mug shot. Also, this is a letter that she wrote. Okay? This is a letter that she wrote. So letters can be primary sources as well. So these are just examples. One, the topic, your topic, if you wanted to choose, say for instance, we wanted to choose Rosa Parks, that would be our topic. And a source could be driver's license, police mugshot, and the letter that she wrote. And if I expanded this letter, it's incredible, right? To hear what she was thinking at that time. So these are examples of sources, of primary sources that you can use. Okay, we're coming up on the end right here. The last but not least, here we go. Last but not least, just to cover what we've talked about so far. Last but not least, this is the process of how we'll go. Think of something that interests you. At the end of the day, hey man, you driving this car. All right? Think of something that interests you. Think of something that interests you. Also, think of narratives and counter narratives. Okay? Think of something that interests you. Doesn't matter what it is. Remember, social studies is not only studying what's going on around us, it's studying ourselves and our own communities. Okay? So, think of something that interests you. Think of narratives and counter narratives. Things that we know, and also things you think would be cool that we found out about. And now, last for this process of today and tonight, select 5 sources, 5 primary sources. Okay, so that's the first step of the project today. Think of something that interests you, pick a topic, think of the narratives and counter narratives, and select 5 sources, 5 primary sources you think would help us take this journey. All right. If you have any questions, because we rocking and rolling with this. If you have any questions, please email me and I'll email you right back. Email info@academicwave.com. If you have any questions about certain sources or certain topics. But I think that this historical thinking journey box is one of the best projects that we can do that sort of covers what we've talked about this whole time. So I take a step back. And the people participating in the class take a step forward so that you become sort of like the expert, the authority that helps us take a journey into learning about things that we necessarily don't even know. Man, I hope y'all enjoyed today. We just getting started. By all means, please put in the chat if your fire emoji, put thumbs up, put cool shades on, something. Let me know that you appreciate it and had fun today. Look here, I cannot wait until Thursday. And just a quick thing, this isn't only going to be the students participating. This is anyone who would like to participate. It's a family event. So that's the great thing about this. This is something you can work on as a family and present to the rest of us where we learn from each other. So I hope y'all enjoy it. Remember, if you have any questions, info@academicwave.com. Thank you for checking out Social Studies, The Fundamentals, Academic Wave, where smart is the new cool. And remember, the best education is self-education. I'll holler at y'all tomorrow. Thank y'all. Peace. I see you. Okay. Dante, thanks for hollering at us, man. Ronnie, thank you, Big Timer. Dolly, I appreciate it. Kayla, appreciate it. Amber, appreciate it. Zoe, appreciate it. I'm telling you, we taking this thing over.